And welcome. It's very good to see you all here today, and thanks so much for making the time and braving the tubes to get in to be with us here today. This is a final event in a very busy week for our young entrepreneurs here, who we're going to be hearing from lately. It's a great pleasure for us at the Association of Commonwealth Universities to be able to hold this event as part of the capstone of the programme, which we'll be hearing more about in a moment. I'd like to welcome all our distinguished guests, our High Commissioners, the Commonwealth Startup Fellows themselves, our colleagues from the ACU, from the CSC, and the Commonwealth Secretariat, and indeed those joining us online via the live streaming. So it's good to have you all with us. It's, as is the usual custom and in fact obligation, I need to issue some housekeeping notices. I've been asked to give you a polite reminder that this room allows water only, so if you're eating something, please put it away. You are invited to stay with us after the session from 3:15 until 4 for a networking reception. In the event of a fire or emergency, please leave through the main fire exit, which is the entrance you came in through the main doors. The bathrooms are located near the entrance of the main building on the left and right hand side near the cloakroom. So this event illustrates the Commonwealth at its best, I think. It's education enabling innovation and innovation driving resilience. And resilience, of course, is the key feature of the new strategy of the Commonwealth Secretariat that we're going to hear about in a moment. And we're going to be hearing also how alumni of Commonwealth Scholarships are using their knowledge and networks to launch solutions to real world challenges. And that's really what we do need to be doing here. So I'll just say a couple of words about the context of all of this and the scale and the urgency of the issues that we're dealing with here. Now, I think everybody in this room is aware, you'll have heard it many times, that 60% of the Commonwealth population is under 30. So we are going to be hearing from the youth lead for the Commonwealth Secretariat on this, and there's a really good reason for that because of the preponderance of youth in the Commonwealth population. But of course, in quite a few Commonwealth countries and regions, the youth population isn't matched by job creation. And studies estimate that millions of young people are entering the workforce annually, but a much smaller number of jobs are created. And it's also, we also have very good evidence from recessions in the past that protracted youth unemployment has long-lasting effects. It creates effects which echo down for decades. So it's really important to address that. So that's why entrepreneurship matters so much, particularly in the youth context. If the jobs in sufficient numbers are not available, then you have to create them. And more than this, in terms of creating direct employment, youth entrepreneurship also stimulates wider job creation. Young founders often hire locally, and they stimulate secondary employment, supply chains and service providers and the like. And there's more to it than that. Young entrepreneurship also fosters skills development, often blending technical, digital, and soft skills, because you have to be a jack of all trades. You have to be able to do everything, I guess, if you're in a startup situation. So that helps to improve the match between education and the economy. So when we invest in youth entrepreneurship, we're not just funding ventures, we're building skills, careers, and local ecosystems. And that is the basis of future prosperity. And why it's especially important for Commonwealth countries? Well, it's a political issue for one thing. Official statistics tell us that young people consistently rank jobs and cost of living as top concerns, quite naturally and understandably. So youth unemployment and underemployment is politically and socially very important, but it's an issue that's not easy to address. there are various blockages. I mean, one is access to finance. That's a major bottleneck for youth-led businesses. So there's an issue to face there, and also issues of equitable access. Having such a great success as we have had over decades in higher education generally, and don't forget that things actually are getting better, even though they don't seem that they are. Things are improving on that front. That has produced a pool of educated young people who lack access to the support and networks they need for successful entrepreneurship. So the support that programs like this can offer make a real difference in terms of gender, socioeconomic status, and other areas such as rural origins. So just very briefly now, before I hand over. So what does actually work? Well, programs that combine finance, mentoring, and market access work. They can make a difference. Programs like this in terms of mentoring and support are very important. Connecting universities to enterprise pathways, incubators, industry really helps as well. And the ACU actually is active in that area. And prioritizing inclusion, designing programs that remove barriers for young women, rural youth, and those in fragile contexts make good business sense as well as being the right thing to do. And remember, always for us here today, Commonwealth networks do make things easier. The shared language, legal systems, and trade corridors can make things easier for youth startups as well. And finally, what's the ACU doing about this? We work on these issues within the ACU in our network of 400 or so universities mandated by Commonwealth education ministers. We're gathering evidence and shaping practical policy recommendations through our higher education task force to support youth employability, skills, and entrepreneurship ahead of the next Commonwealth education ministers and CHOGM in 2026. We've carried out a survey on labour markets and how they relate to skills programs in universities. We're obviously doing this program and this event today. We have an entrepreneurship education community of practice, and we're helping on the Commonwealth guidance on enterprise education. And in fact, we're having our ACU Congress, our conference at the end of November in Nairobi, which will be a platform to work further on these issues. So that's all I had to say. Thanks once again, all of you, for attending. And I'd now like to welcome and thank and hand over to the Deputy Secretary General of the Commonwealth Secretariat, Dr. Arjun Sadhu, who's going to address us now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Colin. It's good to see all of you this afternoon. Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and of course, our young innovators from across the Commonwealth and all those who are listening to us or looking at us online. A very good afternoon to all of you, and also a very warm welcome to beautiful Marlborough House. It is indeed a pleasure for me to open this Capstone Week event, co-hosted by the Association of Commonwealth Universities and of course ourselves, the Commonwealth Secretariat. Colleagues, today we celebrate a new generation of Commonwealth entrepreneurs, visionary young leaders who are not only responding to urgent challenges in agriculture, in energy, and in climate, but they are also reshaping the future of their own local communities. This is more than just a showcase. It is a strategic dialogue about how we build ecosystems where young entrepreneur talent can flourish and where innovation is not the exception, but is the norm. Let me frame our discussion around the Commonwealth Secretariat's new 5-year strategic plan. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 days ago, in the morning, we had a very important meeting next door where we had representatives through the High Commissioners of 56 member states who agreed looked, considered, and discussed and talked about the strategic plan that we had proposed for the next 5 years. Of course, the plan was led by our Secretary General, the Honorable Shirley Botchworth. I'm very pleased to announce, and some of you would have been informed about it already, that the strategic plan, the next 5-year strategic plan, 2025 to 2030, has been approved, as Colleen mentioned. This to us is a wonderful, wonderful milestone. And, you know, it's a record time. The new Secretary General was in place on the 1st of April, and by the end of August, she had a strategic plan approved. I think it's a monumental initiative. The plan itself is ambitious. The plan is bold. The plan builds on what we've done in the past, but also, you know, moves us towards new priorities, given the context within which we are evolving. The board wanted us to be more focused in what we do. The board wanted us to look at the financial requirements of what we're trying to do. The board wanted us to look at resource mobilization. We want to do a lot of things. Where are we going to get the resources? Partnership, and hence this meeting that we're having here. You know, we have place for private sector to come and join forces. We have places for NGOs to come in, and government, of course. So we want to open up the doors, bring your new ideas, and then we will find where the resources are going to come from a collective front. But the plan itself, we want to be focused, and there are 3 areas of focus, or 3 pillars, as we call them. And these will come as no surprise to many of you. The first one is democratic resilience. And the word resilience is key in what we want to try and do. We want to build resilience in all our communities, in all the 2.7 people around the Commonwealth countries. So democratic resilience is going to be a pillar. The second pillar is the economic and trade resilience. You know, we need to be resilient, and we need to be able, you know, in delivering trade and job creation and so on. And the third one, not forgetting, of course, climate, environmental resilience. So these 3 aspects of resiliences: democratic, economic, and climate or environmental resilience. All our projects that we do will have to be within one of those pillars. But most importantly, and for the sake of this meeting, in every single project that this organization will do, it will have at least 3, it must have 3 components: a youth component, a gender component, and last but not least, a small island state component. So these 3 things are key in anything that we do around here. We must have a place for gender, youth, and small states. So 2 days ago, that plan has been approved, and we are now busy putting in the implementation plan. And like I said, mobilizing resources. And this meeting, of course, falls straight into the mobilization of resources, because we believe that there's a lot of things we can do, but there's a lot of things we can do better if we do it in partnership. And that is the key word that we are moving forward with. So at the heart of all the strategic plan is the Commonwealth's commitment to young people, inclusive, you know. From the Commonwealth Youth Program to initiatives like the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship, we are building platforms that will elevate young voices and expand access to opportunity. The young entrepreneurs in this room and those joining us virtually show what is possible when we invest in young people as agents of change. This event today exemplifies the Commonwealth's unique power to convene, to connect, and catalyze impact across borders and sectors. It also shows what can happen when we break silos between education, policy, and innovation. And breaking silos is something that our own strategic plan is addressing. You know, even when we have 3 pillars, We can't simply work in the department responsible for democratic, the department responsible for economic, and the one responsible for environment. There must be this dialogue, this kind of cross-cutting conversation that happens for us to address the real problems that we are facing. So it shows also how linking research and training, supporting government frameworks and innovations such as tech entrepreneurship can produce real world impact. So we really want to move from the virtual, to real things. And young people with your ideas, your multidisciplinary training, access to funding has been said, to mentorship, to market, these are extremely important. So I'm going to close in now, and I'd like to thank the Association of Commonwealth Universities and also the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission for their very strong partnership in advancing this mission of today. And together, we are not only showcasing success stories, but we are strengthening the ecosystems that will allow youth innovation to thrive and to scale. Let today's conversation inspire us to go further towards a Commonwealth where every young person can dream, can design, and deliver solutions for a more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. I really look forward to the conversation later on. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Dr. Sadu, and thank you very much for hosting us here today. I realise I forgot to say who I was. My name's Colin Reardon. I'm the Secretary General of the Association of Commonwealth Universities, and we've organised this event today, but I should absolutely say that the programme that we're talking about is a Commonwealth Scholarship Commission programme, the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship program. Fantastic initiative. There's a superb buzz around it, and we're going to be hearing from some of the participants in a moment. But first, we have an actual real-life Commonwealth Scholarship Commissioner with us today, who's going to tell us about the program. It's Professor Kevin Ebay, who is the Professor of Marketing and International Business at Birkbeck Business School. So, Kevin, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Riordan, for the warm introduction. And I'm delighted to see a full house. Thanks to the Commonwealth Secretariat for hosting us. Thanks for the High Commissioners here. Thanks to everybody who is here to be part of this event and those that are joining us online. Building vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystems across the Commonwealth. I think that is a very crucial mission for us all, because particularly the Commonwealth Startup Fellows, whom we are here to listen to and to welcome and to celebrate, they're not going to be able to operate optimally if they don't have a vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that is work in progress. And I'm delighted that we have a dedicated event to reflect on it. So I'm Professor Kevin Ebay, as already introduced. On behalf of the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, I'd like to thank the ACU for organizing this event. ACU is a very strong partner of ours, hosts our secretariat, and we continue to collaborate in the service of the Commonwealth and humanity. Also would like to thank FCDO. Unwavering support, not just for this program, from the get-go, always been very enthusiastic and keen to offer very helpful input, but also particularly funding, not just the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship, but the entire CSE programs. So the CSE, the commission, and we have the chief executive and some of our colleagues in the staff of CSE here. We are all grateful to the FCDO and to the UK government for support for not just the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship, but for the entire programs that we offer. The CSC Commonwealth Startup Fellowship is a new initiative introduced as part of our evolving commitment to inclusive and sustainable development, and more importantly, to promoting job creation. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But before I go on, I'd like to also acknowledge and thank the Imperial Enterprise Lab. Imperial College is the world's second-ranked institution. That is according to the latest QS ranking. So this top global institution is partnering with us to deliver this Commonwealth Startup Fellowship. And that reflects our commitment to providing these fellows with top quality incubation and acceleration skills and platform to enable them to excel. So thanks to the Imperial Enterprise Lab for their collaboration, and it's been going very, very well. And I'd like to say a little bit about the vision of this program. In the CSC, we have 65 years of experience of providing academic scholarships, mainly to postgraduate students. And these are students from the Commonwealth, across the Commonwealth. And one of what we've learned over this 65-year period is that talent exists in abundance in every corner of the Commonwealth. And this talent can flourish with appropriate support. So this talent that we've got, and as Colin rightly mentioned when placing this program in context, we have a situation where the Commonwealth is dominated by young people, 60% of the population, but jobs are clearly falling short of requirements. There is huge job deficit. I did give some statistic 2 days ago at an event, and that is to say that in just West and Central Africa, 6 million new jobs are required on a yearly basis. In other words, 6 million young people get into the workforce every year, but only 500,000 jobs are created. So that leaves a deficit just in those two regions of 5.5 million. So that gives you the context, the nature of the challenge that we're facing. So the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship aims to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, job creators in low and middle-income Commonwealth countries to equip them with the tools, networks, and confidence they require to scale their operations and their impacts, and to help us not just shape their future, but the future of their communities. So this scheme is relatively new, but I'd like to just share some statistics to give you an indication of the nature of the hunger that there is for this kind of scheme. So in our inaugural cohorts, which was onboarded at the end of March this year, we had only 20 places, but received about 1,500 applications. So we're only able to onboard 20 out of 1,500. We've also gone through, in the last few weeks, the process of recruiting for the second cohort. And again, we had 20 places and received nearly 2,000 applications. So that gives you a picture of the hunger, the desire amongst young people to have an appropriate platform to enable them to deliver on their entrepreneurial ideas and vision. So businesses from every region of the Commonwealth applied, indicating hunger, indicating what I'm talking about in terms of their keen interests. And it's appropriate that they are applying in such numbers because we are providing them with such an excellent platform as represented by the Imperial Enterprise Lab. The support they've provided over the past 6 months to the inaugural cohort has been nothing short of exceptional, world-class. They've worked with experts from various fields, markets, and have been supported every step of the way by teams in London and in Accra. So again, I'd like to thank colleagues from Imperial, but I also like to mention, and that Imperial has, out of abundance of generosity, offered 2 additional places. So in addition to the 20 that the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission is offering, Imperial has added 2 to give additional startups the opportunity of being part of this scheme. So in saying that, message to the High Commissioners here present, to the Secretariat, and so on and so forth. I think Imperial is setting us an excellent example that, I would like us to probably reflect upon. I'd like to just talk a little bit, and I'm getting to the end of my talk, please. Just to say a little about the inaugural fellows. These are exceptional young people, founders that are turning challenges into opportunities, that are tackling some of the world's most urgent issues, from climate change to food insecurity to healthcare, transportation, housing, and so on and so forth. So they are really clued on, have their fingers on the pulse of the challenges facing the Commonwealth. And are doing so with ingenuity, resilience, and purpose. It was delightful to listen to them again pitch for investment last Tuesday at the Imperial College. And those pitches are still available online. So if you find time, please listen to these young people, their business ideas, what they've already achieved and what they're looking to achieve, and how we can collaboratively support them or actually invest in their businesses. And frankly, yes, there is a lot of gold to be struck. Think about the gold rush of the previous generations. Africa is going to be the future. India, the Commonwealth, all these young people with all their huge entrepreneurial energy and vision, is the right time to take a stake to invest in their tomorrow, in their future, and be part of their success story. We in the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission are excitedly looking forward to their milestones, their next milestones, and we're proud to be part of their journey. And as we look forward, as the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission looks forward to the next cohort of the program, I'd like to invite all of us, the High Commissioners, the Secretariat, investors, policymakers, to join the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission and to join Imperial. And these are 2 excellent brands, CSC and Imperial College. So join us in sustaining the vision of the Commonwealth Secretariat Fellowship and help us scale the impact of this program. So let us collectively, and I'm very delighted, listening to the Deputy Secretary General. CSC has a strong track record, the Secretariat, very strong track record of promoting youth entrepreneurship and working to unlock potential, to foster greater innovation, entrepreneurship, job creation. So we're all talking the same language. And I'm delighted that I don't need to preach to the choir. So let's collectively do it. Thanks again for your listening attention, and I look forward to our discussion on how we can build excellent and vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystems. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Kevin, for that. I'd now like to ask our for entrepreneurs. We have real life, we've been talking about it in theory, but we actually have real life entrepreneurs here with us today who we're going to hear from now. Can I ask you to come up and take your seats on the stage while I just, I will then introduce you. And as they take their places, I just want to testify to the strength of the partnership and the excellence of the partnership between the CSC and Imperial College. Those of us who are at the event on Tuesday evening or other events during the week will be able to underline that. So let me just introduce our 4 CSC alumni innovators. So we have, going from me to there, we have Marianne Gichanga, whose company is Agritech Analytics from Kenya. We'd like to welcome Marianne. We have Akshay Kawale of AgroSure Products in India. And then Madalitso Champeni, Mepepu Energy, Malawi. And Ife Olatayo of Farm State Technologies in Nigeria. So there's a variety of companies and of countries, and it'll be great to hear a few minutes each, perhaps, from you all on your experience. So if we start with Marianne.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Marianne Gishanga. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Agritech Analytics, a company in Kenya where we are using AI and IoT sensors to help farmers understand the fertility of their soils and management of their crop pests and diseases. This is helping these smallholder farmers increase their yields at a lower cost as opposed to what they would have done before. Ideally, our startup is in the middle of SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 2, zero hunger, and SDG 13, climate change. So we are combining all these three and helping these smallholder farmers attain a sustainable livelihood in the midst of climate change. We have about 9,000 farmers monthly who are using our solution, and they have seen the impact of using our solution. It spans from reducing their input costs, increasing their yields, understanding what is their contribution towards climate change. Now they're understanding the practices that they had before that are contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. Now they're reducing on that and embracing friendlier ways of farming. We also have a very big job of just helping them understand that technology and AI are not the enemy, but they are coming to equip them to understand how to farm better. This group of farmers are very unique. They are semi-literate or illiterate. So if you're offering them solutions in English, then there'd be a language barrier. So we've gone ahead to translate their alerts into vernacular languages. We've been able to translate our alerts into 4 major languages with the farmers that we are working with. And we are hoping that we can be able to do more or find an easier way of translating their alerts so that we are able to replicate our solution to different parts of Africa. Because talking to my cohort mates here, I have realized that the challenges that the farmers are facing are very similar in all these different regions. And with this network of the Commonwealth, we can be able to scale much easily with their contacts. So that's what we do in a nutshell. I am very happy in the farm. Most of the time you'll find me in the farm off-grid trying to look for network. So if I have meetings, I have to plan very well in advance so that I'm able to find a quiet place and a place where I can get internet to be able to talk to the people in the offices. But I'm happy there because I have seen the changes that we've made in people's lives, both directly and indirectly. I had a team of 20 direct staff, and we have close to 45 indirect. And when I say indirect, I mean the people who do not work with us every day of the week, but they're always there on call helping us in terms of trainings, onboarding, and just coordinating with the groups on the ground. We have farm scouts. We have people who are dealing with the technology part on the ground, and we also have the women who are helping the other farmers understand what it is that we are doing. So we work with networks of farmer cooperatives, women farmer groups, county governments, and NGOs who understand the challenges that the farmers are facing and are willing to support them. That is agri-tech analytics in a nutshell. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. How inspiring. Akshay.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Akshay, founder of AgriSure Products and Innovations Private Limited. So we are an agri-tech startup currently based in India. So at AgriSure Products, we are currently designing and manufacturing various types of climate smart as well as gender friendly farm equipments, particularly focusing on the women farmers. So why and how we started AgriSure Products? So, like coming from the farming background, I knew that I've seen my parents working in the field. I've seen my relatives working in the field, doing farming with a very hard job, still using conventional tools and practices to do farmings, which is, which is not a sustainable way to mitigate the climate change crisis. So that's why we started AgriSure Products back in 2022, along with my school friend. So how we started, before starting AgriSure Products, I was working at a private organization in India. So I realized that we should utilize our industrial knowledge as well as the past experience for the society. So I moved back along with my school friend again to my hometown, and then we started AgriSure Products. So as of now, from starting with the one products, now we have commercialized more than 35 products into the markets. And today, almost more than 20,000 farmers are using our equipments in India, particularly in the drought-prone regions of India. And now we have scaled up our operations in 3 states of India. And moving forward, now I have a network of good friends in other Commonwealth countries, and I'm looking forward to explore scaling our operations in other developing countries. So one thing is with the help of our solutions, we are really trying to reduce the drudgery as well as increase the field productivity by almost 18 to 20%. And how we operate at the grassroots levels. So we usually collaborate with local government bodies as well as NGO to create awareness among the farming communities before selling our equipments directly to them. And we usually take part in different agriculture exhibitions at the rural level so that we can build a trust among the farming communities. And that really help us to scale up our operations at the grassroots level. And along with our operations, we have also created a network of village level entrepreneurs where these young children of farming communities are also renting out our equipments to other farmers in the nearby villages, which is also helping them to increase their to generate an additional income, and which also help us to increase their family income by almost 18 to 20%. So yeah, that's how we are working with the farming community. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, it's so.
Afternoon, everyone. I am Madesu Penny from Malawi. I am an industrialist. I have a deep sense of belief in industrialism. If industrialism was a church, I probably would have been a priest or something because I believe in manufacturing a lot. Since I graduated, I've always wanted to build technology, especially hardware. I'm a hands-on guy. I've worked in building biogas digesters, but also briquette machinery. I used to make briquettes sometime back in 2020. Then I stumbled upon renewable energy, especially wind turbines, and that caught my attention. I started working on wind turbines and then eventually developing my own design. I developed my own design of a wind turbine that I tailored design to suit the specific conditions in Malawi, specifically the wind conditions. Fast forward to sometime in 2022, I was still out of a job. I was on my second startup then, because my first startup had failed. I was on my second startup. I was working as a volunteer at an organization and in the rural community off-grid. But there I started working on my innovations again. I built the turbine and tested it in the community. But realizing that the community surrounding the community that I lived in didn't have electricity, and the struggles that they experienced because of no access to electricity. Women had to constantly travel long distances for a maize mill. There were no opportunities to build businesses for young people. I thought to myself, what if I could integrate this turbine into a mini grid and then electrify these communities? And that's where Mpebo Energy became a startup. So for the past 2 years, I've been working towards raising funding to build my first microgrid, which I successfully have raised funding, and I'm working on building my microgrid coming this year. What we're trying to do at Mpebo Energy is to decentralize power generation, targeting rural communities. You generate electricity on site and you distribute it to these households to provide equitable access to electricity to rural households, businesses, and institutions, and create an environment where communities can thrive on that mini grid. They can build businesses, they can have proper healthcare services, education, they can utilize the electricity for quality agriculture to preserve their fresh products. I can collaborate with my brother there, Goy from Nigeria, to do something like that. So we have similar problems, but similar solutions that we can work together and integrate into the mini grids and the solutions. Yeah, like I mentioned, so far we are working on developing our first mini grid that will power about 120 households and 30 businesses, but we've also identified about 7 more sites in Malawi and requiring about, I don't know, 40 million US dollars in investment. So there is a market for electricity on the African continent, not just Malawi, there's a market for electricity on the African continent. There's a need, there's a demand for it. I went to the community and just talking about, I'm here to provide electricity, and they were so happy. Oh, finally we can have our own electricity, because the surrounding communities had electricity and they saw the benefits that the communities had with electricity coming. So there's a huge demand for electricity, and not just looking from the profit point of view, but just the impact that we can create by providing electricity to the most underserved communities on the African continent, specifically in my country, Malawi. What I would ask from the Commonwealth, is support. We need a lot of support into infrastructure development. Mini grid development is very infrastructure intensive. It's capital intensive. There's so much that you have to put into a mini grid to have it to work, to have everything up to standard. So we need a lot of capital investment into the mini grids as well, but also capacity building, just maybe tailor design courses that I'm not saying the CSF was not enough. It was very enough, and it provided the right capacity that we needed as entrepreneurs, but also just additional capacity building that provides the technical expertise for entrepreneurs to come to Commonwealth universities, come to the UK, just maybe 1 month and just gain hands-on expertise in whatever they're doing. Because I manufacture as well. I manufacture the turbines, just the expertise to learn hands-on experience on exactly what is required, how you do it. Because I've seen a lot of technologies here in the UK, and I've noticed that the UK has the capacity to build a lot of innovations that we can also adopt as the African continent and bring back to our countries. So I'm just asking the Commonwealth to work together, to put all the resources to build the African economy to a prosperous community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ife Oluwolatayo. I'm the founder of FarmSlate Technologies Limited, Nigeria, and I'm a proud Commonwealth Startup Fellow 2025. My experience in entrepreneurship started from a very deep personal experience after I lost my dad to type 2 diabetes, and I started reflecting on how I could change my local food system. And I saw the connection between health and how we grow our food and how we access nutritious food. So from there, I started out to work with the most important people on the agricultural value chain, the smallholder farmers. So what I just did was to go to this community, give them training on agronomic practices that are safe, that could produce nutritious food. For example, the microdosage use of harmful fertilizers and pesticides, organic practices, tillage, and the likes of that. But after we worked with these farmers, you realize that they're interested in adopting good practices. But regenerative practices, for example, are very expensive relative to traditional farming. So it meant that they needed to do something, they wanted to do it, but they do not have the resources. And that was how FarmSlate Technologies was born. And FarmSlate, what we do is we are building an intelligent system and a platform that uses artificial intelligence, uses satellite imagery and field level insight to be able to create dynamic risk-informed profiles for farmers. Then this allows funders to be able to go through these profiles. They're even able to look in the direction of these farmers in the first place and able to confidently lend to them for the cycle of the period that they need to get maybe a seasonal production, cultivation activated. And we also help them to monitor from the moment the funds is disbursed up until when it is returned. So we are actually unlocking capital for agriculture, which is considered one of the riskiest sector in Africa. And having doing that, I mean, why is it even important what we do? It's because these farmers are highly excluded from the system. Now, when we look at Africa, food security and affordable nutrition and also climate resilience depends on these farmers. If we look very deeply, yes, they are the ones that are vulnerable. They are the ones that are not nurtured. They are nurturing our soil. They are producing 80% of what we eat, but they are completely ignored. And that's why what we are doing, we believe, is very important. And we also see the challenges that come with working with these farmers. We had challenges of being considered as, oh, would technology ever work with, would you be able to use technology to work with these farmers? But we are proving that innovation, when done by local entrepreneurs, using local context for local problems, you definitely get results. I'll give an example of from what we've done before. For the past season, we created a risk assessment portfolio for about 40 farmers within AgroArec cooperative. That's a cooperative within the southwestern part of Nigeria. And we shared it with a commercial bank. And the bank was able to fund about 18 credible farmers from this portfolio. And we worked with this farmer all through from disbursement up until when they were able to harvest. And at the end of that cycle, these farmers altogether produced 72 tons of food, fruits and vegetables, grains and pulses, increasing our supply of nutritious or food security, as well as also we were able to make, I can't say that we make them, but we actually made them realize that when you have a very good, credible loan profile, it means that you're opening yourself up to more opportunity. There was a loan return rate of about 96% in an industry that is considered very risky. So if we had not created that platform, I don't know how that would have been possible. But most importantly, what is appealing to us is how we have created an identity for the farmers. So now people can recognize that they are farmers somewhere. And for the farmers, they felt quite seen. They felt, oh yes, we are part of something. And the farmers, they were even, I'm avoiding mentioning the bank, but they felt like, oh, this bank, because it's a very popular bank in Nigeria, can directly work with us. So we are not even seen as the least in the society. So that, it just makes the experience of being an entrepreneur very rewarding for us as much as it is for the people, communities we are serving. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed for really inspiring stories about local solutions for local issues and really the basis for something much, much bigger growing from that. I detect, I think, from all of you. So I'm going to ask you all to stay there because we will get to audience Q&A in due course. We've got a couple more interventions to go. So the next speaker is Sushil Ram, who is the youth advisor in the social policy development section of the Commonwealth Secretariat. Sushil, please.
Thank you, Chair, and a very good afternoon to you all. It's a real privilege to be here and to listen to such an inspiring stories from our Commonwealth entrepreneurs. To Marilyn, Akshay, Madalitso, and Ife, thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for sharing your journey, but also thank you for sharing the vision that you have. And I have become a student of your experiences. Each of you have shown how a challenge, often deeply rooted in your local community, can be transformed with grit and creativity into a solution that is both commercially viable and socially impactful. This is the essence of entrepreneurship, not just building businesses, but building future, turning challenges into opportunities, turning bold ideas into real-world impact. Now, the purpose of this event, this inaugural Commonwealth Startup Fellowship program, and indeed this week's capstone event, is not only to celebrate these successes of these people, it is to ask the bigger question: what makes these success stories possible? And how do we replicate that fertile ground across all 56 member countries? The stories we have heard today are not just anecdotes. They are living case studies. They are roadmaps for how governments, universities, and international partners can cultivate thriving entrepreneurial ecosystems in their own communities and countries. And from the Commonwealth's perspective, and based on the discussion this week, I think 4 things stand out. First, higher education as a launchpad. Our universities must move beyond being lecture halls. They must become engines of entrepreneurial energy, embedding entrepreneurship in the curriculum, creating incubators, linking students with mentors and investors. These steps help transform theory into enterprise. And importantly, creating a culture where failure is not feared, but embraced as a stepping stone to success. And this startup fellowship is proof of how powerful that investment in young people can be. Second, innovation. Innovation is the lifeblood of progress. And to enable it, we need to have the right policies at a national level. Policies that protect intellectual property, that ensure affordable access to capital, and reduce the regulatory hurdles that too often suffocate startups at birth. But innovation, as we have seen, is not just about technology. It is about new ways of thinking, new business models, and creative solutions to some of our urgent challenges, from climate change, energy, food security, that these innovators, these entrepreneurs have demonstrated. Third is inclusion. Now, this is something that is non-negotiable for Commonwealth. Too many young people, especially women, those in rural areas, and those in small states and vulnerable communities, still lack access to the most basic enablers of entrepreneurship, whether it be skills, finance, mentorship, or even reliable internet. If we are serious about building ecosystems, we must level the playing field. This means investing in skills, in digital infrastructure, designing inclusive policies, and ensuring opportunities not dictated by geography, gender, or social status. And finally, collaboration. And perhaps this is the Commonwealth's greatest strength. We have heard about the 2.5 billion people, 2/3 of them under 30. But the key is that we are uniquely placed to build what I like to call a Commonwealth entrepreneurial highway, a network where ideas, capital, and talent can flow seamlessly across the borders. Imagine the possibilities. A founder in Malawi or in Lagos, Nigeria, connecting with partners or scaling with partners in India. A small island innovator in the Caribbean, connecting with Africa and India. This is not hypothetical. It is already happening. And it is also happening through this fellowship. And these exchanges are more than business. They're about resilience, they're about solidarity, and they're about finding shared solutions to shared challenges. And let me also underline that these four priorities that I have laid out, skills, innovation, inclusion, and collaboration, they sit at the very heart of the Commonwealth's new strategic plan that the Deputy Secretary General just earlier mentioned, and which places young people and entrepreneurship at the center of our mission for the years ahead. So our role at the Secretariat is clear: to keep shaping the condition, creating those enabling environment where young people, young entrepreneurs can thrive, not only for their own success, but for the strength of their communities, the resilience of their economies. We will continue to provide support to our member states and to young people, young entrepreneurs, to develop and implement policies that promote youth entrepreneurship, and work with our partner agencies, such as the Commonwealth Scholarships, the Association of Commonwealth Universities, on initiatives of this nature. Finally, if I can sort of leave on a final thought, entrepreneurship is about unlocking potential. It is about courage, it is about creativity, and it is about community. And through skills, capacity, innovation, inclusion, and collaboration, our member governments, our partner organization, international organization, and indeed the Commonwealth can help young people not just imagine, but build a more resilient Commonwealth. This is what this startup fellowship is also all about. Thank you to ACU. Thank you, Commonwealth Scholarship, for this partnership, and also to Imperial. And we are committed to working with you and building on this. And my congratulations to the first cohort, and we wish you all the best for your future success. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much indeed for more inspiring and informative words there. We're coming to the Q&A in a moment, but first I'd like to invite two of our High Commissioners who've kindly agreed to share some thoughts on entrepreneurship in their country. So we have His Excellency Stephen Montfort from the Malta High Commission in London, if you'd like, Stephen, perhaps.
First of all, thank you for this invitation. I mean, these stories are extremely impressive, and I congratulate these four young people for their very admirable efforts. I can truly appreciate what the Association of Commonwealth Universities means to young people. I am a Commonwealth scholar myself. A long time ago, I was a doctor in medicine, and I know what such scholarships lead to. They don't only lead to individual gain, but they also lead to what the country gets. So when I went back, I employed people. I used my network to send young specialists to my colleagues for further training. And I'm sure that's what you would be doing. You'd be mushrooming from all that you're doing. Now, one idea that comes to mind, because I know there are problems with eligibility and there are problems with available places. We heard that, 2,000 applications for 20 places, which is unheard of. And I'm wondering whether this is already being done, whether there are sort of like expos. I know there are a lot of countries that have TV programs, like in Malta, called the Shark Tank, where before these people actually go into scholarships, they are exposed and they show their product to businessmen or investors or investment banks, offering part of their company for a small percentage. And that company would be sponsoring their scholarship, their study, and eventually mentoring and helping in getting their investment to fruition. I think it would be a small price to pay, and you'd be getting all that strength behind you. Obviously, not everyone will get it, but I'm sure that more than 20 people would get this. I don't know whether this is being done already, but I think we should not just be going to Commonwealth governments, but we should be going to Commonwealth investors, to banks, to huge conglomerates that can help such people. And I congratulate you again, and I thank your association for doing such good work. Thank you.
Well, so it's a wonderful idea there. We can have a Commonwealth Dragon's Den, and I'm sure we would get people, actually. It's a genuine possibility, that. So thanks very much for that. And finally, we will now hear from Dr. Rajeshwar Jita, who's the High Commissioner of Mauritius, who's going to share some thoughts with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. Good afternoon, everybody here in this wonderful room, Deputy Secretary General. Allow me to thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. As a former Commonwealth ACU fellow, I got this fellowship and I had some wonderful time I spent in Cambridge. Since we're talking about entrepreneurship with these young lads here, I want to share what this ACU movement did to me. After I received this distinguished fellowship and time spent in Cambridge, as soon as I go back to Mauritius, I was called upon to be a candidate in an election. I became a politician. I was asked to take the seat of standing in the constituency of the former prime minister who became president, and I won that seat. And since then, I kept on winning elections. But what I want to share, with everybody here is that I've never had a chance to thank the ACU properly. I want to share what it did to me. I became minister 3 times. First, I became Minister of Trade and Industry in the government of Mauritius. Then I became Minister of Health and Quality of Life. Then I became Minister of Tertiary Education, Science and Technology. And since we're talking about entrepreneurship, I started doing some business myself. I wrote the competition law, which opened up avenues for people. We passed in the Business Facilitation Act, which enabled many people to start their business. Personally, I got involved into creating universities. I opened the Open University, which I understand now is part of the Commonwealth movement. Université de Mascarin, which is French-based. Fashion and Design Institute. I had the opportunity to open 2 medical schools, one with Geneva, Switzerland, and one from India. I am blowing my own trumpet. I'm doing that because I have to say it. My confidence, my capabilities reached that level thanks to the ACU. Had I not been offered this fellowship into Cambridge, I don't know where I would have been. I'm sure I would have done well, but not as well as I think I've done in terms of contribution to my country. Although I even built some hospitals. I think I should stop here. What I want to say here is, Professor, thank you very much. I think people don't talk about what these movements do. I'm sure you know that the ACU started in 1912 and it went through its teething stages, and now the patron is the Majesty King Charles. I think it's a very important movement. Our distinguished entrepreneur here, I'm sure you'll have the chance to come back someday and share what you would have been through. You have to be very proud that you have such an institution to handhold you, and I'm sure you'll do very well for your country, for your continent, and for this world. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and it's great to hear about those experiences. Now, it's over to you. we have an opportunity now for audience Q&A, and you can ask questions of any of the speakers if you want, but particularly of our fellows. I see a hand here, if somebody can bring. Go ahead, Aaron.
Thank you. Yes, Aaron Zaman from, Bloomsbury Institute and also involved in the Commonwealth. Can I just pick up on what the DSG touched upon in his remarks? And I think I've heard the Secretary General talk about this several times, but all of you have been doing this fellowship. You started at one point, you're now finishing it in a world that is actually very different in the last 12 months. And without getting too political, DSG after the 20th of January, it's become a lot more challenging. So in this volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world, my question to each of you is, how different or how more do you feel the importance of this program is? You know, when you started it, it was a certain point in time. You're finishing it at a very different moment in the world. And challenges are unraveling even as we speak. So my question to each of you is, what is that impacting you in terms of how you look at things now? Thank you.
We'd like to start. Ife, do you want to start, and then we can go along, yeah? So you do it like that.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. For me, it was an inflection point when I actually applied for the fellowship. It was at the end of last year. And I wanted, so we were going to move from just a team of 5 to a team of 9. And personally, also as an entrepreneur, we are embattled with family, we're embattled with personal life, we're embattled with also the lives of the employees and the communities we were serving. And so being a part of the CSF gave me the opportunity to really, from the bootcamp experience, I was able to lean into a community that I was at my vulnerability, which was not usual, because I felt this is a room of people that really wanted you to grow. And from the learnings that we took, personal learnings, professional learnings, when it comes to business modeling, sales and marketing, every single thing that we needed for that period as a startup and being tailored into what we need at the stage that we are as a company has been very valuable. Also, emotional intelligence, my leadership skills were well aligned from that process. All through the after the bootcamp, it's an online experience, online experience of venture review sessions where we got feedbacks and coaching sessions where coaches that understood the context where we were working and truly wanted us to get a lot of other exposure. I mean, it was very, very, very valid and valuable for our time. Then another thing came, and which was the media exposure. So it might felt like, okay, you're all over the news, but that was giving us a huge credibility that opened even more doors to us. So it's been very valuable. If there's anything, the first time I heard that about 2,000 people applied or 1,500 applied, I felt favored. Yes, because out of 20, other people would have been brilliant entrepreneurs that applied. But because this opportunity is so important and significant, and it has also poured a lot into me and the community of people that I've been able to meet, it has really changed. In terms of metrics, if I'm still allowed 1 minute, our employee base increased by close to 60% over this period. Also, the farmers that we are working with, we're also able to increase the funding that we access to them by about another 45%. And then the opportunities that also got open to us through the program, about 3 other opportunities. So a lot really happened. And it showed that there was progress from the beginning of that of this journey up until this time.
Okay, so I'm gonna be very specific on what exactly the program has, the impact that the program has created for my startup. Before joining the CSF, I was very confused on what I wanted to do as an entrepreneur. Yes, I had a startup that's doing power generation and distribution, but on the other hand, I manufacture wind turbines. I have a great product that I want to put out there on the market, you know, and I went with those 2, you know, these are my 2 solutions. Through the program, we went through the boot camp. And then when it came to the venture review sessions where you're sitting down and you have 2 people, you pitch to 2 people, and they give you feedback on what you have to improve on your venture. I was asked one specific question. I even told Ingeborg that afterwards. They asked me, one of the reviewers asked me, do you want to be a mini-grid developer or a manufacturer? Think about that and choose one thing and go with it. And that sort of gave me clarity in what I wanted to do as a co-founder of Bebu Energy, the direction that I wanted to take, and that entirely changed the direction of my startup. It sort of streamlined the solution to the people that I'm serving. I have integrated manufacturing into my startup, but now it's a different approach from what I had initially. So the biggest highlight for me is just the clarity, and that's very important, the direction that you're taking as an entrepreneur. The second thing is just being in a community of entrepreneurs that are so brilliant. All the fellows are very brilliant young entrepreneurs that are doing brilliant things back in their countries. When you hear them talk, you get challenged. You just, wow, these guys, where do you even get this information? Taiwo, he talks a lot about he talks a lot about founders that are in the USA, you know, big companies. You're like, how are you learning about this? You know, and you get challenged and you want to be at that level of proficiency as well as an entrepreneur. So it's just been a great opportunity for me to just be in that ecosystem of entrepreneurs, but to also have the opportunity to collaborate with them. And that's something I'm working on. I'm working on collaborating with 2 entrepreneurs from the same fellowship. So it's been of immense impact for me.
So now we have a group of entrepreneurs for different geography. So it's a really great platform to learn from each other's. Like we always think of collaborating with each other's, and during these programs, we know that everyone is solving different problems. They are going through different challenges. But the one part is we always discuss among ourselves, like how are we solving your challenges, particularly in your community. So it's a really great platform for me to learn from everyone and implement those learning in my organizations. So and apart from this, the bootcamp was really helpful for me personally. I identified my strength and weaknesses as a startup founders. So that those learnings can be implemented in my organizations, and personally, those learnings were very helpful to become as a good leaders. Yeah, thank you.
I think they have almost covered everything. But for me, what stood out most was understanding my change of behavior in the phases of growth of my business. You see, as an entrepreneur, when you're starting your business, it's your baby. You feel like you understand your baby. The 2 of you communicate in ways that nobody else can understand. And you're very protective and jealous of what you're building. And most times when you're starting off, you do not want to hear any external advice. You understand what you're building, and that's okay. And then you reach a point where you really need help because there are things that are happening that are building pressure in your mind. You start feeling a lot of pressure, but you don't want to show that you're losing control. So what does that do to innovators? It makes us grumpy. It makes us it makes us really ask any entrepreneur, they have painkillers in their bags because there's a lot going on in your mind and you don't want to share it. And then you get into a fellowship and you get into this boot camp, which is very important. It was very important, emphasized before we even got to Ghana. And when you get there, you're like, okay, so what's different here? And the facilitators got right into our souls without making you feel inadequate, without making you feel guilty. They just painted out that, yes, we understand this is your baby. Nobody's taking your baby from you. We just want you to take this piece of paper and map out what it is that you want to do with it. And it made us think outside the box. They trained us of what happens in the business world from a specialist point of view. And they made us look back at whatever it is that you're building, now map it out with what you have learned. And it really exposed me to the kind of person I had become, because you lose yourself. You don't understand, you just react to things, you become very reactionary. And then when we now painted out what it is that we were doing, we got into a session where we were told, now start thinking 10x. And they would ask you questions. Everybody stand here. I want you to make 2 steps to the direction which you feel you want to be in. Do you want your business to grow and get investors, or would you rather just grow in your own pace? And it really brought out our personalities. There are people who just want to be in control. There are people who don't mind having other people in their companies. And what that did for me is expose me to who I really am and also what I want to become. It challenged me internally without feeling pressured. I know that there are things I needed to work on. And then you know what they did? After the boot camp, now you opened up and you're thinking, these are the things I need to do. We had notebooks, very new notebooks, big ones, so that we could write about what we learned at night. And then they bring us these coaches who take you through your business. You do a pulse check. Where is my business now? Where do I want it to go? What do I need to do with it? And I feel like this is a master class, or this is a master's course. If we were graduating, I think we'd have a master's in business because it was a short period of 6 months, but it has so much that has changed in us. We cannot talk about it in 5 minutes. Some of us will not even see the full value of this program until maybe when we are looking at the end of year, what we've been able to grow as a business. As a leader, I feel like I make decisions with more purpose than my feelings, like this is my baby. Now I have a purpose. Now I know 10x, what do I want to achieve? The decision I'm making now is based on a roadmap that I've been able to map out on a piece of paper, a roadmap that I have discussed with my co-founders and with my teammates, and I'm able to sell my business better to the people who I work with before I even go to the clients that we have. So thank you very much, CSF.
Yes, that was so brilliantly eloquent. I feel we ought to stop really, but we do have another question and we have time for one. So,
thank you. I'll be quick. I have a question almost for everybody who spoke, but it is only one question for all the speakers. And I congratulate you, the fellows, for the achievements and wish you the best in the next endeavors. But I will speak from a government perspective. What has been the support, the role, the impediment from the government? Because, I mean, when you look at the sectors in which you do these small interventions, they are very critical to any country. Talk of agriculture, mechanization, energy, technology, and everything. They are really critical to any governments, especially developing countries. Do you think the government has been supportive enough? It has been an obstacle. It has, I mean, from policy level to technical support. What do you think they ought have done better from the government perspective? That is one. And for Professor, you spoke about this big gap between the jobs created and the output to the market. This shows how big the problem is. And I think maybe there is a kind of mismatch between the labor market and the training. You know, how do you think the universities can collaborate more with the labor market in order to reduce somehow this gap? I was talking to the DSG recently. We were talking about the role of technology and innovations, AI and everything. How can you put it at the center of what you do in order to be able to solve some of these problems? The High Commissioner talked about, the need to multiply, to have this multiplier effect. I think if universities use the technology more in designing models that people can even access online without going to universities, and then the Association of Commonwealth Universities, you see how you can dispense these to different countries, maybe to do better. How do we put technology at the center of what we're doing? Thank you.
Well, that's a fantastic array of questions, and I will bring in Kevin actually on that point about how to bring in industry to this. But would you like to say, who would like to say something about the government interventions that may or may not be helpful?
I am a very proud Commonwealth member, and I want to say that my country, Kenya, is very supportive of entrepreneurs. It has eased the process of business registration. We have tax breaks for some things that we're doing, but they also need to improve on some things like policy making. I mentioned that previously, that we still do not have an AI policy, maybe because AI has a lot of gray areas, which we feel like if we had policies before, it would be easier for us to develop, because right now we are developing and we don't know what they are going to decide is good and what is bad for consumption in the country. So if most countries would be reactionary to some of these things, but that is the only thing I'd say is an issue for us. I feel like there's a very big voice on job creation, and the governments have realized that they cannot do it on their own. So I'd say that we really have space to explore.
Any others?
Yeah. So particularly like working with the government and their perspective for the startup entrepreneurs is very active in India, particularly. So we have a dedicated ecosystems where government of India as well as the startup founders is working closely with each others. So I think like particularly India, there are more than thousands of incubators and different accelerator programs has been created, where they usually identify the grassroots innovators and they help them to commercialize their products. They helped with a very basic from the very basic levels, right? From creating a business model, as well as establishing their firms as per their government of laws. So I think in India, I would like to thank every stakeholders involved in the overall ecosystems where they are supporting us. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Do you wish to add something? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a lot of support from the government to create an ecosystem that's an ecosystem for thriving entrepreneurs in my country, because even the matching grant that I got for my mini grid came from the Malawi government. So that's something that I can applaud that the government is doing towards making efforts in pushing entrepreneurship in the country, but also just involving a lot of stakeholders like UNDP, GIZ. A lot of them are building accelerator programs in the country to facilitate the development of businesses, of innovations, young entrepreneurs in the country. Again, just being part of the Commonwealth is something that the government has also played part in. You know, for us just to be here in the Commonwealth Startup Fellowship means that our government has a good relationship with the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. You know, we were eligible because Malawi is part of the Commonwealth. So I think that's just one of the major things that the government has created. Like even in my country, when I apply for a lot of things, I'm eligible because the government has created relationships with a lot of organizations across the globe that allows entrepreneurs to tap into the global networks and the wealth that the world has to offer to entrepreneurs. Yeah. But in terms of universities, it's a bit challenging. I think the question you asked about universities,
we're nearly out of time, I think. If we can just hand over to Ife, yeah. We've only got a minute, so. but you know, very enlightening what you've said.
Okay, from our own experience, I can say the government is doing, well, the government is doing what the government is meant to do, but as well, it could be better, and it could be better when it comes to policy frameworks. So for example, the term fintech, agri-tech started a few years ago, where government is moving, but innovators are moving faster than the government. So then you now have regulatory frameworks that were not available. You needed compliance, or you had compliance issues. So for us, we needed to generate data, behavioral data, financial data from farmers we're working with. But there are no regulatory frameworks to make sure that we are compliant to the way we handle this data. So how can then we be able to work as fast if we are delayed by such frameworks or such bills that are not passed, or such a long bureaucratic process? So I'll talk towards that. Looking forward, it would be one of the things that entrepreneurs desire, to have policy frameworks that enables us to be able to go as fast as we should. We could talk about investment, we could talk about partnership, but policies drive everything, and it puts everything in shape in a way that it's scalable for us, and it also makes us accountable. So having that, and it can only be handled by the government. So it's one of the things that I always want to, or we always want to pass as a message across, especially when we have a room of government officials or policymakers, that is important. As we are moving fast, we would like our policies and the policymakers to move as fast, or even twice as fast as we are.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, we are actually out of time, so I'm going to answer on your behalf, Kevin, about the universities, if you don't mind. It will just speed things up. But just to summarize some really important points there about stable but agile policy frameworks, you've got to have them there, because otherwise you're groping in the dark. And the point about AI, I think, has been very much heard within the Secretariat, and that there are going to be some, I understand, some initiatives on helping with that. So that will be really useful. As far as the universities and businesses and entrepreneurship is concerned, it's really important to remember that universities and businesses do work together, but there are learners as well. You've got to offer things that learners want to learn. You've got to listen to the people who are going to be doing the thing that you want them to do. So that's what we've been doing actually today. And I think we've learned a lot from doing that. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for attending. Thank you to those who've been watching online via the live stream today. I hope you'll stay connected with us through future ACU events and continue to be a part of this growing network of innovators. Thank you to the High Commissioners for their partnership, of course, to the CSC and to Imperial College. And above all, to our amazing, inspiring entrepreneurs for their courage and creativity. Thank you all very much indeed. So we do now have a reception until 4 p.m, which you're very welcome to attend and use the opportunity to do some networking. Thank you.